Hi y'all, welcome to Spirit Mail. I'm Cheryl and this is Daily Mail episode 69. So we're going to talk about, as I made reference to last night, the badges we wear. Because sometimes, and whenever I say the badges, I mean the identities that we wear. Sometimes those identities that we wear, that we actually wrap on like an award or like a trophy almost, becomes a stumbling block for us. And let me just tell you what I'm saying, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and then we're going to figure out what we can do about it. And whenever I say that, I'm hoping that Spirit will show us in the PS what we can do about that. We know about shadow work and releasing shadow work. I mean, there's so much information on the internet, but maybe there's some other information. Anyway, let's start with a really good friend of mine has been battling something for a very, very, very long time. She is 50, about almost 50. Been battling this since she's 19. And a couple of years ago, I was writing and journaling, in meditation, and I was told to speak with her and tell her to write her story as if she was healed from this. And I thought, the first thing I thought was, not doing that. No way. Not about to do that. Because people are always giving us advice that we don't necessarily want or need. And I know, particularly in her case, that lots of people are always trying to give her this new remedy, that new thing, and all that. So I didn't want to do it. I mean, I didn't just say, no, I'm not going to do it. I just thought, oh, but I didn't do it. And I kept putting it off, and I kept putting it off. A couple months later, and I would think about it, it would come back up in my mind. In other words, they would remind me, hey, do this. Anyway, she has never ever been to my home. And one day I was out in town and my daughter called and said, my daughter lived with me at the time, she called and said, hey, so-and-so's here. I was like, what? And my heart dropped because I knew that was Spirit sending her to me so I could give her that message. And I didn't want to. Anyway, I'm telling this long story. I shouldn't, that's even relevant, but that happens sometimes whenever we are asked to do something. Sometimes we'll get presented with the opportunity if we're too hesitant. But anyway, so I sat down with her and I had that conversation with her, and we talked and we cried, all that stuff. And she said, okay. So I said, do you mind if I follow up with you in a couple of days, and get your story? And she says, oh, no, yeah, I think that'd be great. Something like that. I talked to her in the next couple of days, and she says, no, I hadn't got to it yet. Things have been busy. I said, okay. So next few days, we did it again, and she finally says, I'm really scared to do that. And I said, what do you mean you're scared to do that? She says, this is who I've been since I'm 19 years old. I'm almost 50, for 30 years, for more than half of my life. This is who I've been. I'm scared to not have this. So she was able to verbalize it, and I have so much respect for her because she did verbalize it. And she just admitted it. She would rather carry what she was comfortable with than have to understand something that she wasn't comfortable with. Even though, from my perspective and from anybody else's perspective, hey, healing, really? Yeah, I want to walk in that healing. But that's us. She is more comfortable with that badge, with that identity, because she knows what it is. She knows what to expect. She knows how to handle it. You know what I'm saying? So is it a stumbling block? Maybe from the outside looking in, it could be considered a stumbling block. But guess what? It's her stumbling block. If she wants to keep it, if she wants to continue to walk that way, that's her right. And we have to allow that. So another thing with me, You all, if you've watched me for any amount of time, you know that I identified as an abused woman until late 2018, whenever Spirit showed me that, I was not abused, and if there was an abuser, it was me and my mouth. But for a lot of years, I identified that way, and I almost wore it like a badge, like I wore it like a trophy, like I survived this, and nobody's going to. Basically, what I did was I allowed it to be. And I'm just realizing this as I'm talking, I allowed it to be the excuse for me to be able to be hard and to be not letting you take advantage of me and not letting you take advantage of me and that kind of stuff. So my badge that I wore actually pushed people away. I did that, right? Pushed them away. So and in the meantime, I got married 3 more times. I had to count. I got married 3 more times, y'all. So it's like, and none of the marriages were successful. But until we're ready to really look, and I'm saying until we're ready, I'm talking about my life. Y'all do know that, I hope. Until I was ready to look and to ask. But it wasn't just something that I came upon by myself. It was something that Spirit put into my life that allowed me to be really brokenhearted, that finally allowed me to ask, what is this about? And that's whenever they were able to show me the badge I had been wearing, that it wasn't even a true badge. It wasn't even my life. It wasn't even what I kept saying it was. So sometimes whenever we wear badges, we can do one of 2 things with them. Based on those 2 stories, we can admit, okay, at least let me say this is my badge and this is what I'm going to wear. I'm comfortable in it because I know what to expect. But then whenever we do that, we're not allowed to, and this girl never ever did what I'm about to say. But whenever we do that, whenever we hold on to those identities that we've adopted about how hard life was and how I've been mistreated and all that stuff, when we keep holding on to it, and it almost becomes a contest about who had it harder, people in your circle, it almost becomes a contest. When we keep holding on to it, then we can't turn around and say, but God never steps in and helps me, or Spirit never does anything to bless me, or whatever those things are. Well, if we choose to keep hanging on to our old self, there's no way that they can, because we keep calling this back, calling it back, because it's who we are, and because it's what we understand about ourselves, and because there's some part of us, y'all, that it makes us feel bigger, because look what we've survived. Look what I've survived. Doesn't that make me somebody, right? But when we can release it and walk into the real somebody that Spirit has for us to be, who we wanted to be when we came here, it's a whole new world. And I can say that from experience. This is a whole new world. Now, sometimes the old you sneaks back in, like, the video from last night. And just real quick, because I don't want to give that a whole lot of energy, make a big deal out of it, but I did not apologize to you guys about it, and I'm sorry for that. I am sorry that that the old me showed up and made some of you uncomfortable. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, now I'm moving on. So whenever we see it and we're willing to address it, Spirit will help us address it and give us a whole new way to show up in the world, and talk about relationships improve, right? Things get better. But every now and then something will sneak up on us, and that's a sign that perhaps we have more work to do. But so the badges we wear sometimes, when we, that wounded warrior card, where's that wounded warrior card? That's the kind of energy some of us can stay in, that we've been wounded and we're a warrior, and, people should respect us for that. And we've been through a lot, and we've gone through a lot, and all that stuff. But whenever we stay emotionally attached to it, it holds us back. So, yes, pull the wisdom from it. Pull what you've learned about yourself from it. That you learn that you're strong. That you learn that you can handle anything. But speak to that side of it. And again, this is just Cheryl talking. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm not telling you that I'm a psychiatrist or psychologist or anything like that. I'm just telling you from my experience what's worked for me when I walked around in this energy. That look at everything I've been through, and just to the point that I'm somebody because look what I've been through. But it's not about that. It's yeah, I have been through it, but a lot of you have been through it too. And you know what? We came out of it, and now we can move forward into a whole new way of living life instead of pushing people away and then blaming God that you're not blessed. And I say you, I mean me too. So the badges that we wear, what badge are we wearing? What identity are we holding on to that really isn't doing us any good? That's just the question. Okay. So now we're going to pull the PS. God, guides, angels, archangels, Holy Spirit. Show us clearly. What is the PS? Is there something I could have said better? Is there something I forgot to say? Or how can we overcome that? Thank you for clear and concise messages. I thank you for love, light, and prosperity. And I thank you for clarification, confirmation, and validation. PS. Okay, so this is the Page of Pentacles. So the Page of Pentacles is the beginning of a new thing, right? And the Pages is a younger energy. They're not afraid to do the work. They're not afraid to show up and be dedicated and do whatever work they've got to do because they understand that they can bring something new into their reality. So this is true, y'all. We can bring something new into our reality. We can bring a whole new experience into our reality. But when we say that's what we want and we keep hanging on to who we were, it doesn't work because it's like we have our feet in two different worlds, right? We're sitting on a fence. Well, one day we want to walk in blessings and fullness, but one day we want to keep reminding people how much we've been through. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. And I'm getting better about it. I'm getting so much better, but there's still part of that in me. So here we go. It's that what we focus on grows, right? What we focus on grows. And again, I think it's great to go back and pull the wisdom. I think there's a lot of value in that. But we can get hung up back there sometimes. There's your strength card, okay? So Spirit's saying to you guys, this is her taming the beast. This is where matter meets spirit. Because for me, the lion is like the lion in the Chronicles of Narnia was representative of Jesus or the Christ. And this is the matter. This is us walking in this physical world. Whenever we understand the truth of who we are, when these two merge, right? It's like we have a superpower. And it's like things just start working differently. Are they going to be perfect all the time? No. But whenever the old you shows up, you recognize it, and you know you don't have to live that way, and you know that you can do something to change it and to make a difference. And it usually has to do with ourselves, right? But we have the strength to look at it and to say, hey, no, let me figure out another way to release that. What do I do? And then here's the High Priestess. And I feel like they're saying, man or woman. I know these are all female cards, but this is not about females. This is about, it's not gender specific. And even this High Priestess, right? She's very, very connected. And I feel like Spirit's saying, guys, we are very connected. And if we want to release that, there's a scripture, and I don't know where it's at in the Bible, but create in me, God, create in me, oh God, a new heart, or something like that. Create in me a new heart, oh God, something like that. But it's like, again, and I said this in somebody's reading earlier, I think, it's kind of like the brushing our teeth. We don't just do it once and we have great teeth the rest of our life. No. We have to do it over and over again. So perhaps this ego thing, right? We have to die to it over and over again. Again, not denying that it ever happened, but my daughter sent me a text in this thing that she's doing, and she asked me, what is your greatest disappointment and what is your unfulfilled dream that you haven't gotten to yet? And so I told her I have to think about it. And whenever I texted her back, I said, we all have disappointments, but I don't think I have a greatest disappointment. I think, I've been disappointed with myself. I've been disappointed with different jobs. I've been disappointed with different people. But we all have that. But to pick out one thing and say that's my greatest disappointment, no. Because I really don't regret. Even the disappointments in myself, I don't regret it because it's like I learned from that. I learned who I am. And even with other people, we learn who we are. So if we go within and we ask Spirit, show me, create in me a new heart. Show me the path to get to where I want to go. Guys, it's going to be different for each one of us. Spirit's going to tell us. Spirit's going to tell us. That very last thing not the very last thing, but that one thing that woke me up so much about the identifying as an abused person, whenever Spirit showed me that was like this little movie playing right here, and it was being narrated, and it's while I was driving down the highway. They're going to speak to us different ways, they're going to meet us where we are. It's if we can allow ourselves to be open, if we can allow our hearts to be open to hear it, when it's coming from a sincere place and we really want to know, they're going to show up. They're going to show up wherever we are. We don't have to be prostrate on the floor with our face down, crying, begging God to please show me anything. We don't have to be in a closet, locked up in a closet, crying, begging God, please show me something. We don't have to be sitting in a meditative position with our legs crossed and candles all around us. There's no ritual, no ceremony necessary. That's my opinion. Because you know why? Because every time Spirit has talked to me, I've not been doing any of those things. I've just, from a place of really, really, really wanting to know, they showed up. And I think that's what this card is about. Spirit wants you to know that, and there's, I said something about we're all a high priestess one time, and some girl lambasted me on this channel back when I first started, and she was like, no, you got to go through this and this and that to be a high priestess. And I'm like, no guys, we're all a high priestess. We all have this ability to connect, right? To connect with the other world, to connect with Spirit. When it comes from a sincere heart, when we really, really want to know and we're willing to look. We got to be willing to look. When we're willing to look, we'll find those answers that we're looking for. Okay, that is Daily Mail episode 69. Guys, I love y'all so much. Y'all go out and have a super duper weekend. And until next time, till Monday, see you then. Bye.